Hi, I'm Christy Rost. What could be better than gathering around the grill while the intoxicating aromas of smoky ribs make your mouth water? Well, today you're in for a treat because I'm going to show you how to make the juiciest, tenderest, smoky ribs you've ever had. Welcome to At Home with Christy Rost. Really great ribs start with proper preparation. So on the back of the pork ribs, and I have 2 racks here, is a cartilage. It runs all the way down, and you want to remove that. So grasp it with a paper towel, loosen it up with a knife at one end, and just pull and get that off. Because if you don't, then when you go to bite into it, you're going to be fighting that cartilage, and you don't want that. So that's all set. Next thing, let me get rid of that, and then I'm going to put this here for a moment. You want to trim your ribs a little bit. See, there's all this extra fat, so trim that off. Just use a really sharp knife and get rid of that, because you don't need that in there. And it'll only make the braising sauce full of, real fatty and stuff, and flame up on the grill later on. So we'll just take that off. I think that's pretty good. This one's not bad, and let's just take this spot right here. There, okay. Get rid of that. Now, I want to make a dry rub because we're gonna add lots of flavor to this. So I have a small bowl here. Let me get the proportions for you so you know exactly what I'm using and how much of it. So I have 1½ tablespoons of onion powder, 1½ tablespoons of garlic powder, 1½ teaspoons of cumin. That's good. I'm going to put in 1½ teaspoons of smoked paprika, about a teaspoon of salt and pepper, and just stir this up. Just about any great barbecue house is going to have a great dry rub. And there are all kinds of variations, and you may already have one that's your absolute favorite. But this will give you another one to try. Then first rub this on the back of the ribs. So I'm going to actually sprinkle it on like this. And on this one, you see this big piece of meat here, right there? I want to make sure I get that. And this one too, right on that edge. Okay. And there we go on this. Move this for you. And rub it in with your fingers. Like that. Okay, then flip them over and do the same thing. On this side, this is the meaty side. I'm going to be more generous with the dry rub. One of my friends, her name is Liz, she loves my ribs. And I made these for her just a few weeks ago, and she was so excited. I said, I made you ribs. She said, they're my favorite. I said, I know. She said, you always make the best ribs, and I love coming here because you almost always make them for me. And isn't that part of the fun of cooking, is when you know the things that your friends and your family and your neighbors really crave, and you can do that for them. That's the gift. That is the gift. Now, I noticed as I was doing that there's this big piece of fat here, so I'm going to remove that. There we go. And I'll put that back in that bowl and finish up here and rub it in. Get the good measure here for everybody. Everybody gets dry rubbed. Alrighty. Then what I like to do is take a beautiful roasting pan like this Viking one and line it with foil because it makes cleanup a whole lot easier. And then let me see if these are going to fit in here as is. No. So what you do is you go between the bone and just cut right down through. And that way you can layer your ribs in a little easier. There and there. And then I'll do the same with this one. And in the meantime, I have preheated my oven to 275 degrees. And I'm actually going to braise these in the oven for about 2 to 2.5 hours. Because there's so many ribs in here, it will take a little longer. If you're working with one rack, it'll probably only take you about, let me move this way. It'll probably only take you about maybe 1.5 hours to 2. Then, let me get this off here. I just taped it down a little bit so the paper wouldn't move all over the place. Just, these are little tricks of my kitchen. See, now my counter is so much cleaner than it would have been. So I'm going to get rid of this. There we go. I'm going to add some hard cider. This is 2 Towns Cider House cider, hard cider. And 2 Towns Cider House partnered with Cosmic Crisp apples. And that's where all this beautiful hard cider comes from, is from those Cosmic Crisp apples. So I'm going to pour this in right along the sides. Now you can use regular apple cider if you like, if you prefer, but there's nothing like a little hard cider in with the ribs. Oh yeah. And then take a piece of foil and cover your pan tightly. Place it in the oven for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 275, until the meat starts to pull back from the edges of the ribs. Then it'll be ready for the grill.
It was one of those peak moments in life.
The olive oil and caviar tasting was life-changing.
Our guests can go ashore and immerse themselves in some of these little out-of-the-way places.
Atlas spoiled us.
Yeah, they did.
The next secret to really great ribs is a really yummy barbecue sauce. And today I'm making an espresso barbecue sauce. So I'm going to start with a little bit of oil in my saucepan, which I've already preheated. I'll swirl that just a bit, like that. This is a beautiful Viking culinary saucepan. I'll add in some garlic. I've got a couple of cloves of garlic here, finely minced. That smells good already. And I just saute this for about 30 seconds or so until it gets real fragrant. Remember, if you leave garlic in too long, that it will burn. So there we go. Then I have 2 cups of ketchup. Add this in. This sauce is so easy to do, I can do this on a weeknight. So don't wait just for the weekend for this one. Very pretty. Next, I'm going to add in about 1/3 cup of soy sauce. And you always want to have a little bit of acid in a barbecue sauce so that you get that nice little glow in your throat. So I add in a little bit of the vinegar. That's an apple cider vinegar. So next, I add in 2/3 cup of honey. So I'm using some Little Bear honey here. So we're going to add sweetness to this. That's about right. And about a half teaspoon of liquid smoke. You can hear it's bubbling away here. So I'm going to cook this for a little while. Probably, I love to cook it really for about 20 minutes if I have time. But what we're going to do while it starts to come together is I'm going to get the espresso ready, because this is an espresso barbecue sauce. So I have this cool machine, it's called Espressione, and it does everything for me. All I have to do is press the button and it takes care of everything. So it has a water reservoir right here, which is so cool. And then right here is the reservoir for all of the espresso beans. And it's going to actually grind the beans for me, and the water and everything, all I have to do is press it. Now, and the beauty of this machine, the reason I love it, is because all I have to do is press one button, and I can do that. So it always clears itself, so it makes all these cute sounds as it operates, and it always starts by clearing out the whole system. So this is the cleaning water. Now it's ready to make the actual espresso. So I'm going to select this button for the amount, and that's it. It does it for me. So watch, because in a few moments out will come the espresso. It is actually grinding the beans for me. And it has already heated the water, and next will come the espresso. You can hear all the little sounds, and there it is. Look at that. Is that fun? So I need 2 ounces in my barbecue sauce, and that's exactly the button that I pressed. So I will have 2 ounces of fresh espresso. Ta-da! And there it is. I love it. So at this point I can turn it off. Okay. And it's going to clean itself out again. And that's how it stays so pure every time the espresso comes out. So see, now here's the cleaning water again. So now, while that's cleaning water, I'm going to add the espresso to the barbecue sauce. Beautiful. This adds a layer of flavor that is unlike any other barbecue sauce. It's so yummy. And this is thickened up some too, which is really nice. So there we are. I'm going to let this just simmer for another 10, 20 minutes, whatever, until I'm ready to put some onto the ribs. But right now, the ribs are headed to the grill, and they're going to be on the grill meat side down for a little while, probably about 30 minutes. Then we're going to turn them over, and they'll be ready to slather with this espresso barbecue sauce. And then within about 15 minutes, we've got ribs. We'll be right back. Cosmic Crisp apples are a cross between Enterprise and Honeycrisp varieties, which makes this non-GMO apple extra juicy and beautifully crisp. Sweet and naturally slow to brown, I love them for snacking, baking, cooking, salads, and charcuterie boards. I'm proud to have Cosmic Crisp as a sponsor of At Home with Christy Rost. I don't know about you, but I love cornbread with my ribs. So today I'm making buttermilk cornbread sticks. And the sticks are these cute little corn impressions in a cast iron pan. Now, the key though, really, is how you get them out. And what I use is I put some oil into them, and I use a toothbrush. Now, make sure it's not used, it's a clean one, and get into all the little crevices so your corn sticks will come out. So there's a tip. So let's make the cornbread. I have cornmeal, half cup of flour, about a teaspoon of salt, half half a teaspoon of baking powder, a quarter teaspoon of baking soda, and I'm going to stir this together. So by now the ribs are on the grill. They are meat side down, okay? And the coals are on either side so that the center is where the ribs are. And that's called indirect heat for cooking. So that takes about anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes for the ribs to get nice and tender. It's going to help finish off the cooking that we started in the oven. Okay, let's add in some buttermilk. I have 1.5 cups of buttermilk. So see, these only take about 8 minutes or so to bake in the oven. So the timing is perfect while the ribs are doing their thing. I have an egg. And about a 1/4 cup of butter. This is going to make the cornbread really tender. And then I'm saving some Little Bear honey because after they're baked, it's really nice to slather a little honey on them. So I just mix this up real quickly. You know, you can use the same recipe and bake your cornbread in a 9x9 square-inch pan or a little rectangular pan, anything you want, or a round 9-inch round. But it's kind of fun to make them into corn sticks. I always swing my bowl around so it helps me to do my mixing. Okay. And the action of the buttermilk and the baking soda, that's why I can already see that this batter is starting to rise. So baking soda reacts with acids and buttermilk is an acid. So we're gonna get a beautiful rise on these. One tip, don't overflow your pans. Just put enough in there so that it's about half full. Just like that, knowing that these are going to rise, and then when they bake, they'll rise even a little more. In the meantime, I can hear this just bubbling away. My espresso barbecue sauce is so tasty, you're gonna love it. It would also be really good with chicken. You know, if you have chicken legs and thighs and want to even just bake them in the oven, this recipe for the barbecue sauce is very, very tasty on that, and you can freeze it. So if you use some and you have some left over, put it in a little container, put it in the freezer. You know, we pay enough for groceries right now. If you can preserve everything you can when you're not using it by putting it in the freezer, that is a very economical choice. So this is going to make, let's see how many we have. I think there's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It makes 7 and 7, 14, plus there'll be some left over. So I'll just finish filling this tray, then we'll finish the other tray while we take a break, and we'll get those baked. And I'll give the barbecue sauce a stir, and pretty soon we'll be flipping those ribs over, and they'll be ready to slather with barbecue sauce. So there we go. I'll be right back. Thanks so much for joining me around the grill today on At Home with Christy Rost, where great food, beautiful wines, and hospitality are a tradition. I hope you'll connect with me on my Facebook and Instagram pages. Today's recipes are on ChristyRost.com. A special thanks to our friends at Espressione and Melissa's Produce. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Atlas Ocean Voyages, Cosmic Crisp Apples, Michael David Wines, Tovolo, Viking Culinary Cookware, Water and Wines Puzzles, Little Bear Honey, Salt Seasons, and Tip Tech. See you next time.